Today we're going to talk about some ways that we learned to rebuild connection with each other. Dave, you had a really good point before we started this video, and that was when we were first married, what did we talk about, and what did we determine when we were first married?
Well, when we first got married, kids didn't take too long to come along. And we found ourselves newly married, within the first 2 years of marriage with starting the family. And we didn't want to become kid-centric.
Right.
We had had such a good time being together that when the kids came along, we thought, well, let's keep the date nights going. Let's keep these things going so that we can keep connection, and the kids will be a natural part of that. Well, life got in the way.
That did not happen.
As many of you know, that as much as you say we're going to keep focused on the relationship, life gets in the way. As parents, you sacrifice for your kids. You put financial resources towards that to make sure they have what they need. There's time, there's energy, there's driving them around, that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, we looked around when our kids got older and we thought, we've lost connection. We're kid-centric. Now,
I just had something pop into my mind.
Okay.
When all of our kids were in elementary school, we had them in a program, and they were all in the same thing every week. We decided that we would have a date night. We had 2 hours, and that became a really fun time of connection.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a little bit of struggle when we first started it, if I remember right. We seemed to spend that whole time talking about the kids.
Yeah, very much
Am I remembering that correctly? We had to learn to turn that off.
Yeah.
And talk to each other.
And not that the kids weren't important.
No.
But our relationship was more important than that.
Yes. As we thought about reconnecting, and this is a question we get a lot with couples that we're coaching, how do you reconnect? We really, by the time our kids were in high school and heading off to college, we realized we did not have the same interests in many cases.
Yeah. And I remember talking with you about that to say, okay, what do we do when the kids are gone? How do we spend the time together? And I would throw out some ideas, and you were like, no, I don't like that because of this or whatever. And you would throw out some ideas, and I say, no, I don't like that because of this. And we couldn't find something that we really enjoyed together. Yeah. We have since done that.
Right.
But it was an interesting process trying to get to throwing out ideas that might be of interest.
Yeah, and we weren't really good initially with brainstorming.
Right.
The whole concept of brainstorming is that all the ideas get thrown out, you write them all down, and in that process, nobody poo-poos anything. We were really good at going, I don't like that.
Yeah.
So brainstorming, we had to learn how to do that and do it well.
And we even had to preface conversations with, this is brainstorming.
Yes.
There are no right and wrong answers here.
That's right.
And we had to remind each other of that because we both want to edit.
So what are some things that we've done since then?
Well, one of the big things that I grew up traveling. I grew up in the military.
Yep.
We moved every 2 years, we've seen all 50 states and just have had a great time as a family doing that. You, on the other hand, didn't have that experience.
No, I grew up in the town that my father was born and raised in, with a lot of family nearby. My vacations and everything were spent surrounded by family, and I loved it. So when we started talking about taking a trip or doing a vacation, my thing was, well, let's go to the cabin.
Mm-hmm. Which we did, and it was great.
Yeah.
And in fairness, growing up with all that family is a blessing.
Yes, it is.
From one who didn't have that growing up, I have learned the importance of that. Mm-hmm. But there's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
So it was when our son decided to go overseas for college. Mm-hmm. And we thought, well, every parent should take their kid to college. At least this is what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we made plans to do that. Now, he was going to New Zealand, which was always a bucket list for me. And
wasn't on my radar.
It was not on Kirsten's radar, nor was the idea of flying over that much water to get to a small island. But what happened?
I discovered the travel bug. But we also stayed in bed and breakfasts. And my preference is a hotel. And I think of all of the B&Bs that we stayed in, there was one that we considered a dud.
Yeah.
In all of them. We met some of the most wonderful people. It was fun. It was exciting. It was new. We saw things that, just exploring. I fell in love with the country of New Zealand.
But we learned a lot of things about each other. I learned that you are much more spontaneous than I in certain things.
Right.
I have to plan out certain things, and then if it's not planned out, it freaks me out, and I worry about it. Over the number of trips that we've taken together, we've learned these little things that make it easier for both of us.
Right. We've discovered the we in reconnecting here. And this is just one example of how we've learned to reconnect. Another thing that we've started to do is we started playing games together again. And, with two people, some games just really aren't fun.
Yeah.
But then there are other games that are fun. We love to play Scrabble. He usually beats me. It gives us an opportunity to laugh.
Jigsaw puzzles.
Jigsaw puzzles is another one. And again, we approach those completely differently. And we've had to compromise on how we're going to do it and do it together. We've also done different projects together.
Right. Yeah, household projects. They say that if, to test a marriage, to hang wallpaper together. And
we've done that.
Now, wallpaper is not in vogue much anymore, but it was fine. We did pretty well with that.
We did.
There are things we won't do together. We will not do a race around the world together because we operate at different speeds, and we frustrate each other because of that.
And that's something that we've had to learn even in traveling, where I'm more spontaneous than you are on certain things, but I have a certain speed. And if you push me, I slow down. That's not a good thing. I'm working on that. But it's fun. 2 years ago, we started something. And it really was something that we started because it was a crisis time in our life.
Right.
And I realized during that crisis that my depression was kicking back in.
Right.
We decided that we were going to walk. And we have now done that for over almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in May. We have not missed a day. We've been sick and we've still walked.
Yeah.
So that's been something that we've done. And the cool thing about doing this walking every day, you can't tell it because we're sitting here, but we're a foot different in height, just about exactly. His stride is a lot longer than mine. So I've had to learn to pick up the pace, and he's had to drop back just a little bit. But that's been a really cool thing. And we hold hands while we're walking. And that it helps us communicate.
Right. And it's also, we've had comments from people that have driven by, hey, it's great to see you guys holding hands. And, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. So it is an opportunity to share our feelings for each other with others that we're around. And we see a lot of the same people in the morning and different things. So that's been good.
That has been good.
To walk, to talk, we pray together. We may not be holding hands all the time,
right?
But it's taken time to figure out what we can do together and what we need to do to continue to grow together as a couple.
One of the things that has been so special in developing these new ways to build communication is to see how that communication has built. How we've discovered things about each other that we didn't know beforehand. And really, I don't know that we would have discovered them any other way than participating in these activities, these various activities together. Some of them have been really fun ways to reconnect.
While it's difficult to figure out, it takes communication. It takes sitting down and talking and figuring out, okay, what do we like to do? What do we like to do? Not just this is what I like to do. I want you to join me. I want you to do what I want to do. But it's meeting in the middle to figure out the best way and how to connect.
And sometimes it's not even the middle. Sometimes it's something brand new.
Yeah.
Like me learning to travel. Communication is something that we all struggle with. And in marriages, it's so common that we don't find ways to communicate. We don't find ways to connect. And especially after it's been a few years, you kind of get into a routine and you lose that spark. The best way to bring that spark is to mix it up. Find something new to do together and have fun with it. You're not going to get it right every time. I mean, we've tried some things that have been just, yeah, that wasn't good. Either one of us has said it, but we tried.
And we learned something we didn't care for.
Right.
So that's fine.
So now as we think about something new, it's like, okay, I know that Dave doesn't like this. And he knows I don't like, this. So how do we adapt and make it something that's palatable? If you want to know more about our story, about the crisis that hit our marriage, my book, Choosing a Way Out, When the Bottom Isn't the Bottom, is available at any bookstore. You can find it on my website at kirstendsamuel.com. If you guys are struggling in your marriage and you're like, we need to build connection, but we have no idea how to do it, please hop on over to kirstendsamuel.com and click that blue button. Set up a time individually, one-on-one with either me or Dave, women for me, men for Dave, or you can do it for couples. We'd love to chat with you. We'd love to brainstorm some ideas. And remember, we're brainstorming and help you find some new ideas and begin to build your connection. We hope you found something in this conversation that gives you an idea on how you can build communication with your spouse. Dave, thanks so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Have a great day, everybody.